All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Financially Lit Fridays. I am your girl, Denise Nicole, your financially lit Black girl advocate. And I was going to go down a rabbit hole since we just got done talking about like side hustles. I was going to talk about, let me see. Inspiring success stories and key entrepreneurial principles, right? Listing out Black girls who have been successful in their entrepreneur endeavors. And if that's something you're interested in, definitely drop a comment and let me know. We can do that later. But I decided instead to just go ahead and move forward to the next pillar in becoming a financially lit Black girl. So we are on pillar number 3. And today is going to be a short one. It's going to be one that I know you've heard before. We'll go into a little bit more detail about this in the next video. But it is simply to manage your money. All right, so again, pillar 3 of becoming a financially lit Black girl is to manage your money. What are we talking about? We are talking about a budget. We are talking about having a spending plan, if you don't want to call it a budget. If you don't like the word budget, if budget feels too restrictive. But the simplest way, or the way that I really like to think about this, the way that I really like to talk about this, is that you have to learn how to manage your money so your manage doesn't continue to manage you, right? A lot of times I think people don't like budgets is because they feel like, oh, I can't do this with my money now that I have a budget. Whereas we really have to reframe how we think about a budget. And that's why I said, if we want to call it a spending plan, let's do that. Because what it does, it actually tells us what we're going to do with our money instead of telling us what we can't do with our money. When we actually don't have a budget, we don't have a spending plan, and we blow through our money, we run through our money, that's when we get in a situation where the money is telling us you can't, what you can and can't do with it. All right. So as always, when we drop the pillars to becoming a financially Black girl, we have some scripts for you. So the first one is Luke 16:10. And it says, one who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. Okay. So the point behind this, I think, another thought that circulates around budgets and spending plans is like, oh, when I, reach this income, then I'll start budgeting. When I have this amount of money, then I'll start budgeting. But the tricky thing about it, and like the falsehood about that thinking, is you will never get to that amount of money. Like, you have to start where you are. You have to be faithful in little in order to be faithful in much. You have to start where you are in order to be trusted with more. And so our next verse is Luke 14:28, and it says, for which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it. And so this is just another one, like, we've gone over pillar 1, which is manifest money, getting your mindset right? We've gone over number 2, which is make money, and we kind of went over like reasons why we want to do these things, why we want to manifest, why we want to make money. There are goals behind what we're talking about, goals behind becoming a financially lit girl, right? And so if we want to ever reach those goals, we have to count the cost. We have to manage what is now coming into us in order to reach those goals, in order to accomplish the things that we said that we want to accomplish. Or it's just going to be like a leaky faucet, or, it's just going to come in and go right out. Like, I'm sure, like I have, you have experienced that when you don't kind of have boundaries on your money. So It doesn't matter what you call it, you need a budget. I say it that way because one of the tools that I have used over the years is called just that. It's called You Need a Budget. And we shorten it, we call it YNAB for short. And I'll make sure that I drop my link for that in this description. But it is one of the best budgeting tools I have experienced. My husband and I don't use it that much anymore just because we've kind of gotten the logic behind it. And so just to kind of break it down, a lot of times when you are talking about budgets, they're like, you have these bills for the month, you want to take this money for the month, and you want to budget and like go through it. I think one of the challenges with that is that you might get paid more than once a month, right? And so lining your expenses and bills up with how you get paid is like the key thing. It's the thing that like switch the flip in our minds on how to manage money. So if you get paid weekly, you want to manage your money weekly. Yes, I do think it is necessary to have an overall monthly budget, right? So that you are keeping track of all the things that have to be paid within a month. But then you want to break it down to what has to be paid this week, what has to be paid next week, so that you are forecasting, right, that you have enough money to pay for these things. And so that's one of the things that YNAB kind of allows you to do. You only budget the money that you have within your bank account. And one of the other things that was really cool is that helps you like stay on top of it is that if you like spend money on an unexpected expense, then it will alert you or it will ask you like, okay, you're in the red in this area, so where are you going to move that money from in order to cover the thing that you just had to pay for. So again, it just gets you in the mindset of like being fully aware of what's current. I just drew a blank. I don't know if this is what I was gonna say, but it's what's coming to mind right now. In our budgeting, we actually, I feel like, have adopted a couple of different like models. So, we've done Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. I have read Tiffany Allerget, the Budgetista, Get Good with Money. Read her book. We read I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Amit Sethi. I think that's where we're kind of like parked somewhere within his like arena of how to manage money. But the reason I mention that is because I think at least Tiffany Allerget and Ramit Sethi, they recommend having separate accounts for separate things, and that is how we have structured our budget now. I remembered what I was going to say. The one drawback to YNAB is that it is not like instant. So it does connect to your bank. It does connect to your accounts, but it does take time to show when transactions post. And I know that can be a little frustrating when you are trying to like stay on top of things. The one way you can kind of get past that is the YNAB also does allow you to just like manually input the transactions. And so if you're inputting transactions each time that you do them, then you can stay on top of it a little bit more. But that's why I'm saying that if, for us, having the separate accounts, knowing how much need to be in each account, and just kind of going off of that is where we've kind of landed, because we have that mindset. We were like super stickler on YNAB when we first got it, but because we have that mindset now, I just know how to navigate in between like our finances, so I don't have to be that, you know, detailed about it. But if you are just starting out, I like so recommend that you be that granular about it, that you get like deep in the details, that you get an understanding at least for like a month or two, so that as things are, you're developing a muscle, right? And so as things continue to go, you won't have to work as hard on that muscle because you have that muscle memory. That's kind of what I'm trying to say about where we are. And so essentially, just want to say, you know, budgeting, spending plan is all about taking it's a basic math problem, all right? So it's all about taking the money that's coming in and subtracting it from the money that's going out and letting you know what the difference is. Some of you may have a positive difference and some of you may have a negative difference, right? And you just need to know how much money you have left over, because then you can determine either A, how much you can apply to your goals, or B, how much more money you need to make in order to like break even or to start being able to apply to those goals. Which goes back to what we were talking about as far as like learning how to navigate and negotiate a higher pay or starting a side hustle so that you can bring in that extra income. One thing I forgot to say last in those videos is the reason why I personally advocate for entrepreneurship is because, you know, especially when we're talking about managing money now, there is a limit to how much you can decrease your expenses depending on your situation, right? So you can call your power company all day long saying, you know, I only make this much money, but they are going to give you the price based off of the amount of power that you need, that you use, right? There is, however, what I'm saying is there's only so much you can decrease your expenses. There is, however, no limit to how much you can increase how much you actually bring in. Again, you can negotiate higher pay, you can become an entrepreneur and start your own business, and there's no cap to how much you can make as an entrepreneur. There's no cap to how much you can make depending on, you know, how you continue to upskill and promote and all of that. So that is one of the reasons why I am a huge advocate of entrepreneurial, you know, endeavors, and because you can literally drive yourself crazy and stress yourself out trying to decrease expenses, but if you look at ways that you can bring in money, then you can live the lifestyle that you want. And that's essentially what Ramit Sethi's like thing is like, I will teach you how to be rich. He's like, you know, figure out the things that you love and decrease on the things that don't matter to you so that you can have money to use on those things. So that is essentially in general, right? What pillar 3 is to becoming a financially lit black girl. It is managing your money by way of a budget and a spending or a spending plan, again, if that's what you want to call it. So this is like super timely because I've told you guys, you know, where my husband and I are, and we recently just visited our budget and reframed it so that it makes a little bit more sense, so that, you know, it's more attainable. So these, you know, concepts and things are just like right here on my mind. And so I don't know, like if having someone help you go through and look at your budget to determine the numbers that you need in order to either break even or have a little extra income. Like, I love to do stuff like that. So if you're interested in something like that, definitely hit me up at hey@finlitblackgirl.com or denise@finlitblackgirl.com. You can just email me and just let me know. Like, I also have a contact page on the main website, and just put like budget help in the subject, because if you're interested in something like that, like, I would love to help you figure that out, because I, again, am a former single mom who I had to figure out how to make it work. And so I love kind of like crunching the numbers, if you will. And so I am just looking at my notes so that I can tell you next week we are going to be talking about, we're going to dig a little deeper. I'm going to show you some examples of how to tailor your budget to your financial goals and needs. So thank you again for being here. As always, I will have all the links to all the things below